My heart is ready to receive. I am open. I am open. My heart is ready to receive. We are open. We are open. Our hearts are ready to receive. We are open. We are open. We are open. The power of intention and the permission to forgive. We allow ourselves to drop into the other half of the world we inhabit, or rather that inhabits us. There's the outside world to which our thinking and feeling and judgments and ideas and planning and tasks keep us very busy. And we're also able to drop inwards and shift our attention to the other side of thinking and feeling, the inner world of the spirit and the heart and the soul. And it starts with intention, because in every moment we have the power to set intention. What is it we're after? What are we called to do? And in the world of the heart and the spirit and the soul, there is an absolute unity where the map, the journey, and the territory are all one. The map, the journey, and the territory are one. They cannot be separated. You are automatically talking about all three the moment you speak of one. And so intention likewise brings along a permission that's already built in. And the thinking mind has lots of barriers to why we cannot give ourselves permission. We're not good enough, we're not worthy, we're not smart enough, we're too sinful, we've messed up again. I don't have the power that God does. And yet, we are called again and again to give permission. And the spotlight of this morning's meditation is on the topic of forgiveness. And the meditation is going to set the stage for what forgiveness can offer. And forgiveness is made up of two words, for and giving. And so it's in the service of something, it's for something, it's supportive of something, it's intended to permit something. And then what is it that is given? What is it that is received? And who does the giving and receiving? And it's important to be able to reach the other side of thinking and feeling by recognizing what the mind will put in the way of forgiveness. And this is why many of us find it hard to forgive. So we need to appreciate and feel what forgiveness is not, because it's always the not. I can't forgive. I mustn't forgive. Forgiveness is not ignoring your feelings about what you may have done wrong or what somebody else may have done wrong. It's not about ignoring the feelings. That's not forgiveness. It's not about denying a sense of hurt or injustice or violence. That's not what forgiveness is either. Forgiveness is not about forgetting, because I don't know how to forget what keeps coming back to me. Because it's in the remembering that the message is. So when I say I need to forgive and forget, many of us don't know how to forget. Forgiveness is not about sucking it up and pretending everything's okay, or being Pollyanna-ish about it, or believing that love and light and just be happy and positive psychology and just imagine unicorns and skittles and rainbows and everything will be fine. That's not forgiveness either. It's not forgiveness either. One lovely phrase that captures forgiveness is the ability to let go of wishing you had had a different past. Forgiveness is the ability, the capacity, and the practice of letting go of wishing you had a different past. Because when we get into the stories about what it is we're forgiving, we're rehashing the past again and again and again. So forgiveness is actually about opening a space in which something else can come in. Because when we let go of something, it opens up a freedom and dominion to be different, for something else to be present other than pain and regret and argument and blame and guilt and shame and sin. Those have never been particularly helpful when the mind allows us to drown in them. So we give ourselves, it's for giving ourselves the space to be different. And into that space, something else can arise. And there's one more letting go that we often have to tackle, and it's another false belief that we have to reconcile with the other party. We have to forgive. We have to reconcile with those people who hurt us if we've been distanced from them. I have to make up with them. I have to restore the relationship, or else I'm not a good person. I have to let them know I've forgiven them. That's a second part of forgiveness, and it often holds us back from doing the most important part, which is giving ourselves a certain freedom and control and possibility and choice of how we are going to be with what has happened. Either the messes we've made or the hurt that other people have imposed on ourselves or others or the world. So you can forgive without reconciliation. But we do need to come into a relationship with ourselves in a very intimate way. So coming back to the sense of space as we bring the meditation to an end, that forgiveness is a letting go. And it's a surrendering of something. We often surrender something. And the flip side of surrendering something is also surrendering to something. We tend to think of surrender as a giving up, a loss, a weakness, a character flaw. I mustn't surrender. But there's a price to be paid for hanging on too long to things which don't serve the heart and the spirit and the soul. And what we surrender to is an opening and a space. And it's with a sense of the space right now. Perhaps it's a feeling, a certain quality of your body or your heart, quality of your mind, a quality of your spirit right now. And if your eyes have been closed, please feel free to give yourself and your eyes permission to open when you're ready. And we'll start the talk and bring some words to what we are experiencing as an active verb in our being. As we recognize that the experience of being alive, that being is both a verb and a noun. And when we move to the other side of thinking and words, which by their nature are and logical, and they're always towards an end, we also recognize that words point to something. Every single word is a metaphor. So when we say to ourselves, please define that word, the moment we open our mouths, we're wrong. And that's why we need to experience it in a different way, in an individual way for all of us. And part of my journey through my career as a psychiatrist, and it's interesting that the word in Greek from which psychiatry and psychology comes is the word for soul. Very interesting. No one talks about soul anymore in mental health. It's gone. It's medication, and it's behavioral therapy, and it's cognitive behavioral therapy. And what happened to soul? Where did Psyche go? Well, Psyche went looking for her lover, who was Eros, or Cupid. And Psyche without Eros is lost. We've heard lots about love this morning and the connections. And what I like about unity in this community particularly is the fact that it's so open to so many different ways of being, ways of experiencing. There's no particular creed or doctrine or dogma or must-haves. It's open. And part of my journey has been to see the connections that run right through humanity, right throughout history, long before any religion was ever invented. Spirituality is universal. Religion is made and created by our species, and even the religions change. They modify, they are manifestations of their time. So when we talk about unity, we see it at the core of all the traditions. It's always there. When Tina asked me to come back, she mentioned one particular phrase that is a focus of this talk or this month. In my Christ self, I have freedom and dominion. And the paleontologist, archaeologist, Teilhard de Chardin spoke about how we're evolving spiritually as individuals, but we're also moving cosmically toward a cosmic Christ consciousness. Now, I happen to be Jewish. I've also been to 14 Buddhist retreats and sat in silence. I've read Hindu texts. I've listened to the Upanishads audiobooks. I've read Thomas Merton. I've read Meister Eckhart. I have read Teresa of Avila. Richard Rohr's daily blog. I will drink from any water as long as it's not poisoned. Poisoned by dogma and creed and belief. And this is my version, and my version's got to be the right one. So when we keep our eye on this unity of what is it that is at this core, it all starts with that thing about intention and the power of permission. Permission to define what it is for us and to live it and to incorporate heart, spirit, and soul, which I never define. I won't even try. Forget it. I don't need to. I don't need science to prove to me what my heart and spirit and soul knows to be true. There's a deeper knowing. And whether you call that Christ consciousness, or the biblical God, or Allah, or Brahman, or the ground of being, or the life force, or Gaia, or Chi, I don't care. I'm not interested in the packaging. I'm interested in what it has to inform our lives. We are not separate. We talk about this in unity. We are not separate. And so we often, I think, to our detriment, we separate ourselves from whatever you want to call that great power. And when I'm separated from it, I'm not in relationship with it. So there's a contradiction when I say that somehow that power is out there. And if I can't find it within me here and now, where and when am I going to find it? It's interesting, the word healing and health and holy and wholeness have the same root word. It's a coming together, it's an integration, it's a fullness of opening up to this whole world, the outer and the inner. It's the both and. It's the relationality. What is our relationship to ourselves? So forgiveness is about freedom. So when I set an intention to forgive, I'm giving myself permission. And right in that moment, this is why the journey, the map, and the territory is such a lovely metaphor. In that moment of setting intention, I've given myself permission to set an intention. And you can take it all the way back. Which one came first? Well, it doesn't matter, because it's all the way down. So with intention comes permission. And with permission and intention, that opens up a space for giving ourselves more possibility, more choice, more freedom, more dominion, more power, the capacity to change. And you can pick any of those words. You can arrange all those words in whatever order you like, and they're all the right door to the path. So for some people, permission is going to be the word that you may take away today. Maybe it's going to be control. I intend to have more control in my life. Power, not in the sense of domination, but in a sense of humility, which is taking my place in my own life. No more than my place and no less than my space. Humility is not putting yourself down. For giving ourselves the permission to change, that's what we've been given a heart and a soul and a spirit for. We're the only species on the planet that can reach the kinds of heights we can reach. Yes, other animals practice kindness and they share and they've got families and they love their young and they protect their territory and they'll hunt for food and so, yeah, that's fine. And they remind us that we can be more. And it's that more to which we need to aspire. What are the benefits of this? Give you a few benefits and then I'll relate it back to the 5 unity principles. The benefits of this is that with power, choice, control, freedom, dominion, possibility, intention, we can feel a release, a relief. Somehow I don't feel so depressed. Somehow I don't feel so tight and anxious anymore. I feel a little more hopeful. This has got everything to do with mental health. burnout, anxiety, depression, and stress. This sort of path has huge benefits for mental health and mental well-being and flourishing. The new movement in mental health these days has not only been reduction of symptoms, anxiety, depression, burnout, stress. It's been a move to appreciating that just because I reduce those symptoms doesn't mean I'm flourishing. We need to flourish in love and joy and peace and beauty. That's what we're after. Reducing symptoms is important. Right? I can't find those things in the middle of a panic attack. This stuff is universally available to every single human being. We just need to be taught it. You know, we don't have a curriculum, a spiritual or human curriculum in our schools because we threw the baby out with the bathwater, and I think rightly so, to separate church from state. I believe that's a very wise thing because otherwise we're into that, well, which church and which God? And over the course of history, some of the worst communities have been those where they've combined theology and politics. It's still going on in plenty of places in this world. Awful. So when we move past that kind of dogma, we come back to the fullness of our humanity. So it's universally available to all of us, 24/7. No technology required. We come back to ourselves. We come back to our own godliness. We are made in the image of God. Genesis, there it is. So this morning I read Richard Rohr's, I get his blog every day, and it was on forgiveness, and I'm going, oh gee whiz, I'm going to be at Unity in a couple of hours. He says 3 goodnesses arise with forgiveness. 3. He said we allow ourselves to see the goodness in others. Or if we're forgiving ourselves, we're allowing ourselves to see the goodness in others, not to be dominant in ourselves, not to be dominated by the badness, the fault, imperfections. That's the first goodness. We allow ourselves to see the goodness of life itself. Right? And we heard a bit about that earlier this morning. That underneath all the noise and the hardship and the pain, there is love, beauty and joy and peace. And thirdly, when we forgive in the way that we've spoken about and felt, we feel better. And good in the sense of goodness, not good in the sense of good versus evil. So even in the presence of all the mess, we've got all the goodness. So Tina always reminds me when she sends me the invitations, Allan, please bring it back to the 5 principles of unity. God is, I am, I create, I pray, I act. First time I came, I had to look at the notes, and after a while it's like, no, I've got this. God is, and if we have holiness within us and we are part of everything, then there's godliness in us. We need to set the intention and permission to access and work with and be and manifest that godliness. I am. Yep. What does that mean? What does it mean to be human? I create. We are called creatures for a reason because we create. We are created and we have the capacity to create. A lion doesn't have the capacity to do anything other than what a lion does. That's the lion's limitation. I pray. Praise is space, prayer, meditation, It's a whole conversation on its own. We pray in that space. We are in a relationship with ourselves and the divinity within us. And that's why there's silence in all communities or ceremonies or rituals. There are moments of silence to allow there's something else to come up. And then we act. So it all starts with permission and intention, then comes all the way through. I'll wrap up. And it just popped in my head now. It wasn't on my piece of paper. And I trust, I'm a Star Wars fan. Trust the Force, Allan, trust the Force. So I was reading again a few weeks ago about 7 heavens. And the 7th heaven, we talk about, I'm in 7th heaven. And where did that come from? The first level is inanimate. The second level is plants and animals. The third level is human. The fourth level are the righteous, the wise, the angels, the saints. And that's what we try to do. We try to get higher. The next level up is a level of just spirit. And can we inhabit and allow that to drip down and seep down? And then the level above that are the laws of how everything works. And it's a mystery. At this point, it's a mystery. And then there is the level of just suchness, as it's been called. This is it. I am. This is. And above that is, we don't know what that is. It's called the beyond. In Kabbalah, it's called Ein Sof, without limit. We can't even conceptualize it. And so these layers, they come down without limit. And then there's energy and light. And then it starts to infuse those people who we see as the highest manifestations of what we can be. And then we come to us. We're trying to move up the ladder all the time. And that's the joy. Because if we were already there, we'd be in 7th heaven. I don't know what we'd be doing. In eternal light or bliss. So the freedom, the intention, we've got it all. And whichever way we want to think about this, whatever words have landed for you this morning, whatever experiences you had, maybe one word, one moment in a song or a piece of music or a note, a harmony in the singing, or something one of the other speakers mentioned. Take that away with you today and see where it lands. And what's calling you, and listen inwards. Because silence isn't empty. It's full of answers. Silence isn't empty. It's full of answers. Thank you very much.